FB fam. Let's see, it's 6:30. So good evening, good evening, good evening. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Um, Waiting for some folks to get on and join. It's always good to connect. I haven't done one of these in a little bit, so I wanted to just connect with some folks. Just real quick. Um, we're going to be doing some things. One of the things is we have decided to take our service live stream. So I need everybody to do me a big favor. I try not to ask too much. I try not to bombard folks with a lot of different things, but I do want to ask if you could go subscribe to our YouTube channel under Chosen Generation Fellowship Church. Um, so go subscribe because we're going to start doing some things. We're already live streaming our Sunday service, but I'm also going to start doing some Wednesday devotion, Bible study. Haven't really figured out what we're going to call it just yet, but we're going to be doing some stuff Wednesday to kind of feed that midweek, getting over the hump day type uh, um, slow pace that we can kind of be in. So go to our YouTube channel or just go to YouTube, type in Chosen Generation Fellowship Church, subscribe to that for me so that you can catch all of what we're doing as we go in this other direction and really start doing some things. The other thing is that just be in prayer for us as we going to be doing a baptism at the end of this month, fifth Sunday, over in the city of Long Beach at Mother's Beach. We got about, I don't know, about 8 or so candidates that we're going to be baptizing. So pray for us on that. So yeah, that's what we got going. And before I go get into what I was going to say on our FB Live, share this with somebody. Be sure that you share it with someone. Be sure that you share it with your circle of influence, the folks that you know, the people that you engage with. What I wanted to talk about is that at the church this month, we've been dealing with this um, this sermon series called "Becoming the Villain," and this "Becoming the Villain" has really been speaking to me because I think of what I'm going through, and I practice a lot of transparency. I'm just honest with folks. You know, I think you reach sometimes you get into a season to wherein I'm not gonna say everything is not going right and it's all bad, but you just struggle. You struggle sometimes in your relationship. You struggle sometimes, especially those of us that got kids. As far as parenting them, they struggle as youth trying to grow up. We struggle on our jobs. We just struggle, and so sometimes we're always trying to look for that break, um, that that hole. As being an ex-football player, it's like when I was playing football and being a running back. Sometimes the dedicated hole that I was supposed to go through on the line wasn't available, so I had to create. One of the things that I'm finding by preaching this sermon series is that you can't have a hero if you don't have a villain. A hero cannot be a hero if it does not have a villain to compensate for that. Now, what I mean by that is Batman needs a Joker. Uh, um, a Superman needed his nemesis. Thor needs his nemesis. Everybody needed a nemesis to fight against, and they needed a villain. That's the only way that they can be a hero is if there's a villain. So in this series, what we've been talking about is a simple fact that at the end of the day, sometimes we're always looking for a hero. We're always looking for somebody to come save us, whether we call that God, whether we call that our dream guy or our dream girl, whether we call that our kids, whether we call that our income, our career. We're always looking for someone to save us from whatever the situation we're in. But as we've been learning in this series for the last 2 weeks, sometimes the villain is us. We can have villain tendencies because of how we talk, because of how we think, because of how we act. We can be the villain. We can be our own worst problem. So sometimes when we look, we're trying to find somebody to save us. We're trying to find somebody to save us, not from the person that we're trying to lock out of our homes or lock out of our lives. Sometimes we're trying to find folks to save us from ourselves, because we're the problem, because we are the ones who are causing all the havoc. We're the ones who are the villains. We're the nemesis. We are our only worst nemesis. So we've been learning this over the last couple of weeks in this series, becoming the villain. And so who we've been learning about is Saul. And so I encourage you to go read 1 Samuel chapters 14 and 15. Read it in its entirety. That means read it from start to finish. And you'll see that Saul had an issue with being who he was. God called him to something greater. God chose Saul, but Saul had an issue. And so we learned on Sunday, sometimes what our issues are and who we are, we got to figure out if it's a condition or if it's a character. Conditions can be solved. You catch a cold, take medicine. If you got gout, you can take medicine. If you got high blood pressure, you take all these things, or you regulate your diet. Those are conditions. Those are things that can be solved just by changing one little thing. If your car is not in alignment, then you go get an alignment adjustment. Those are conditions. Those are things that can be changed. But at the end of the day, you cannot change someone's character. So that means a lot of people that we're connected with, we trying to save them and we trying to be the heroes in their life. We can't save them because their issue is not something that can be solved through conditions. Their issue is a character problem. Saul had a character problem. Saul in chapter 14, he was supposed to wait 7 days and not give the burnt offerings. He got impatient because the people he was leading was leaving, and his what is it called for his character rating or his likeness rating was low. And so when people started scattering, he said, oh no, I got to do something. I got to fix this. So he burnt the offerings. As soon as he finished burning those offerings, here comes Samuel. Samuel walked on the scene and said, man, what you doing? You were supposed to wait 7 days. Saul's impatientness got him in trouble. Then after that, because he was upset, he made this crazy vow in 15 to where nobody could eat. So all his soldiers were starving. They were losing their strength, but they were supposed to fight. And he sold out his own son because of the vow that he made. Saul had character issues. Some of us got character issues. But the cold part about it is Saul was chosen by God just like you've been chosen by God. I've been chosen by God. So God chooses us. Even in the midst of our character flaws, he still chooses us. And so when you look at a villain and if you look at a hero, 9 times out of 10, that villain and hero have something in common. That's what connects them. There's some common thread that connects that hero to that villain. There's some common thread that is within you that is good, and there's a common thread that ain't so good, and that's where you need God. There's just a part of us that's just not good. I don't care how fine you are. I don't care how in shape you are. I don't care if you got it all going on. It ain't about your bank account, your zip code, the car you drive, who you date, how good you look, none of that. There's a common thread that is a part of each one of us that's good and bad, the hero and the villain. And the only person that can resolve that dynamic is God himself. God kept choosing Saul. He kept going back to Saul and kept telling Samuel, I need you to minister to Saul. So I got 2 points for you. Number one, check your character. What is your character? Sometimes it's not the other person. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes it's not that people are trying to beat up on you. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes it's not always people are against you. Sometimes you're against yourself. There's nobody that's going to speak life into you when you speak in death over yourself. Sometimes you've got to speak life over you before someone else will pick up the mantle and speak life over you as well. You first got to speak life into you. Check your character. Number two, realize that God is always going to send you a Samuel. God is always going to send someone to get you out of that self-centeredness that we have. To ask the question, what are you doing? When you go to cheat, you need a friend that will ask you, what are you doing? When you go to do something that you're not supposed to do, you need somebody to say, what are you doing? As a parent, you always asking your kids, what are you doing? You need somebody in your life to be the person that speaks life over you and that will check you in your mess. For every Saul, Saul needed a Samuel to speak into him. Because Saul had some ratchetness about him. He needed someone to speak into him. And God was speaking into Samuel. You see the connection? So you just can't find anybody to be your Samuel. You have to find someone to be your Samuel that God is speaking into. If God's not speaking into that person, they can't be your Samuel. Because there were some things that you will see in 1 Samuel 14 and 15 to where in Samuel, he was up all night trying to figure out how he was going to present this to Saul after he had gotten the word from God. He toiled with that. He lamented with that. He was really trying to figure out, man, how do I go to my guy and tell him that he done screwed up? And God is really not happy with him. Check your character. Remember, God is always going to send you a Samuel that is speaking life into you only because the word of God is being spoken into them. So be careful with your crew because everybody ain't a Samuel. We got more Sauls than we have Samuels in our lives. But we got to check our character, people. It's a character issue. Some things are not going to be changed. Some things are not conditioned. Some things are just is what it is. I have a part of me that is just a character issue. And the only person that can fix that, the only person that can resolve that is God himself. My wife can't fix it. My parents can't fix it. My kids can't fix it. Our dog can't even fix it. Only God can fix that part of me. But it's all about who you connected to. And always remember, no matter what, you can be a Saul, but God has chosen you. God has spoken into your life. Walk in that. Share this with somebody. Like I said, we're going to do more of this on Wednesdays. We're going to feed this in through our YouTube channel to where you can pick that up. But I need you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Chosen Generation Fellowship Church, go on. Subscribe to that. We're going to be doing a lot more of this on Wednesdays and just speaking over what it is that's going on and kind of recapping what we cover on Sunday with some other stuff added to it. But we're in a series called Becoming the Villain, and we're studying Saul. And the more I study Saul, the more I find out Saul is really no different than me. And I'm being honest. I'm being transparent. I got some Saul tendencies. Because I got some selfish ways. I got some ways that I'm getting out of my lane and I can't stay in my lane. I got some foolishness that messes with my faith. So be sure you join us on our live feed on Sunday as we live feed our service on Sunday. So be sure you tap into that. Be sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Pastor Said, and I'm out. Peace. I love you.